Thank you, Marie. With that grounding exercise and meet and greet, I'm sure we're ready to start with the procedures. I would like to introduce our keynote speaker for today, for this year's symposium, Prof. Kommers. Prof, very welcome here. Prof. Piet is a UNESCO professor in learning technologies, and he's based at the University of Twente in the Netherlands. We've gotten to know him as an international pioneer in multimedia or in media education, who has extensive experience in educational technology and social media. Prof. Piet holds a PhD in educational and media design, a master's in pedagogy and a bachelor's in teaching education. And for his work in ICT and education in Eastern Europe, Prof. Kommers was awarded the title of Honorary Professor at UNESCO and the title of Honorary Doctor at the Capital Normal University in Beijing. He's also well known for his work in multimedia, web-based learning, teaching education, virtual 3D worlds, and constructivist learning, to name but just a few. Prof. Piet, it's such an honor for us to have you here with us today, and we look forward to your presentation. Over to you.
Thank you, dear Mrs. Chairman. Thank you for your kind words. I am now mainly concerned to how to share my PowerPoint. So I'm now looking on the screen where I can find the right button.
If you look on the right-hand side, there's a purple arrow. You can click on that.
Yes.
In the middle, it says share content.
Let's see, content sharing.
Prof, you have the PowerPoint. Please use the arrows at the bottom of the screen.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thanks a lot for your marvelous job. I'm sorry that the system was completely new for me. So my name is Piet Kommers. I am happy to lead you through the next topic. The topic is how we can use STEAM, that's the acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts and Mathematics, as an integral approach for education. An approach where the technology plays a crucial role. And here you can see that we have now the field of artificial intelligence. It's spread along all types of application fields like healthcare, the technology, like the automobile, the finances, the social media, and also education, as you see at the top of the right side. Let me go to the essential question, as we ask after COVID, what did the media offer so far in education? And I've made a lot of disputes with professors around the world. In South Africa, Professor Johannes Cronje, I suppose you know him very well. One of our main disputes is that if the Greek philosophers like Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, if they had had access to the World Wide Web, so all the information at that time, would it have made a difference? Would they have had different ideas about what is knowledge? What are the pure ideas? What is in the discourse for learning, for instance? And I think most of us, we agree that the old philosophers, they will have had other ideas than we have now. So that's why we are motivated to think more deeply what's the essence of technology supported learning. As you know, the Google Glass was introduced 15 years ago by Google, and it offers the option to have augmented reality. It means through your glass you can see an overlay of an extra layer of the world. So you see the real world, but on top of that you see a schematized world where you can do the navigation by clicking with your eyes, and it was not used. It was pushed aside only now for people with visual impairment. Why? Why was it not used? And that's quite important for the whole development of media in learning and education. In this case, the Google Glass sacrificed the privacy issue. Because if you talk to someone who has the glasses, the Google Glass, then you are not free to talk because you don't know where the information will be stored, where it will be broadcasted. So you are in a totally different mood, like speaking on the television. In the TV studio, you have a different mood. And of course, for teachers, that is not good at all to do this. By the way, is my voice clear and sound?
Yes, Prof, you can continue.
Thank you. We are now going to the area where we say we have roboting in AI, like the vacuum cleaner in our own home. We are going for the self-driving cars, etc. Will it also land in education, and what are the perspectives for learning and teaching? What we see now is that the blackboard or the green board is still there. So once new media entered the classroom, they are not really pushing away, they are not supplanting the traditional media. And we see that now what is even more important rather than the technology is the evolution in thinking. We have now what we call the 21st century skills. That means a lot of attention goes to the collaboration between students. Also, what type of mentality do we have in sharing knowledge? In essence, we learn the last 15 years that human expertise is, by definition, is a collaborative action. It's like sparring. If you design a new bridge in the long past, it was the main work by one engineer, Mr. Eiffel, for instance, who made a very nice bridge in Porto in Portugal, or made the Eiffel Tower, of course. Nowadays, when we have urban planning, we see that many disciplines are coming together and they decide upon what is the best future solution. So we have a so-called multidimensional view now on human expertise, and that means that for education also we need new paradigms. One paradigm is that the knowledge is not only about the disciplines, it's not only talking about the, let's say, the ultimate ideas, it is to handle the knowledge, the application of the knowledge. On the left side, the pink area reflects the humanistic knowledge. That means it is value-based. So what we did in the past, we attempted to transmit the pure objective expertise based on science. Now what we see more and more is that science in itself is not sufficient to make learning meaningful. So we add the question, how can the knowledge be used? How should it be used? And what is your responsibility? You as a learner, how do you estimate this knowledge will work in your future? What is your mission in life? We call this the problem-based learning paradigm. On the right side, on the blue area, you see the meta-knowledge. Meta-knowledge is, in fact, the skill to reflect upon what you know, and of course, to become familiar with your learning style. So we see more and more that in the classrooms, it's not only the dialogue between the teacher and the book before the learner can get the knowledge. It's the multi-perspectiveness. role plays are very important to make students aware that, yes, there is objective knowledge, but the real potential of the knowledge is in the collaboration, is in the competition of the ideas. We see, let's say, the top 4 layers of the 21st century skills. The top that we want to achieve is the creativity. It's the problem-based thinking. It is that we say, yes, of course, education is successful if we are able to transfer the expertise from the teacher to the student. That's good. It's absolutely necessary. But for the 21st century, it's not sufficient if we stay at that level. We need to go to the moment that students can make something new from it. And that's of course not a one-trick pony. That's a long process and a very diverse process. So the book I was just writing, the title of the book is Sources for a Better Education. Its main idea is that we should concentrate in the coming decades to give students the feeling of responsibility during the learning, that what they learn is not simply what they get and they store it in their memory. No, it is immediately the task, what does it imply? What does it mean for me, for my knowledge, for my prior knowledge? So make connections. And secondly, of course, how can I make more of it? What's the added value of this new knowledge? So that's the top layer, the creativity. The second layer is what's called here critical thinking. And that means how to become a problem solver. It is for a long time that it's the learning attitude. If you hear a new fact, let's say on viruses, on coronavirus, for instance, immediately it's the task for the learner, first of all for the teacher, of course, but secondly for the learner to think what is essentially a virus. What does it mean, the contamination? What does it mean, the G factor? That's the propagation measure. So all these concepts need to be thought over, and of course many questions will come at the student level, and the teacher should be able to think about it. And even if the teacher has no clear answer ready at that very moment, it is of course the matter that the teacher says, I need also my preparation time tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. I will come back to help you to find correct answers to this very question. So critical thinking is not being critical as a comment on society or something. It is a very accurate attitude to verify what you think you know. It's the metacognitive aspect. Then, of course, the layer 3 is the collaboration, what we already covered, and the communication. So let's see how to do that. 20th century, first century skills are very diverse, and we see it in political awareness. We see it in societal innovation, like the knowledge economy. And of course, we need to think about the 21st century school. It is linking communities, families, and schools. So it's a much more integrated approach. And we know for many decades, for at least for 5 decades that I was working in it, that innovation means committing, having a committed community, like the family, the parents, of course, the employers in the surroundings, etc. I would like to give later an example. You see here the 3 books that I favor a lot. On the left side, you see the book Society 5.0 by the professor from the Japanese Institute Hitachi Tokyo Laboratory. And it says society becomes a people-centric, super smart society. So if you think about the smart city, you know, of course, the many sensors need sophisticated algorithms to make the city safer or more sustainable, etc. That's the topic in the left book. The middle book is a famous book by Yuval Noah Harari. It's called 20 Lessons for the 21st Century. And that's exactly what I was talking. It's much more than learning. It goes into the political awareness, the social awareness, and the willingness to change ourselves. And that's also my definition of learning. Learning is not only to integrate the knowledge, but it's very deep. It's the existential willingness to make myself subservient for societal welfare, to help my community, etc. And the book on the right I was already introducing is my own book that appeared last year. It appeared with Springer Verlag. So we see now more and more that the spaces where people work, where they entertain, where they do their operations, like operation room, I will come back to that later. It is a more complex environment. The home of the future, it's called domotics. It means that it's not simply clicking the button. It is training the system, letting the system become aware of my lifestyle, of my rhythm of the week, work, play, and learn. So these are the elements in the smart city, and I would like to go. These are the chapters of my book. You can read it later. And it is the three main apprehensions of what is artificial intelligence. First of all, our experience so far is that AI will help us to make decisions. That's why we are so afraid of it. It might like sorry, the 1984 syndrome of the Big Brother. Nowadays, with all the mobile phones and the smart watches we have, so-called, not only the Big Brother, we have also the smart sisters. So they are in a distributed process where they are looking over our shoulder and they help us to make, let's say, meaningful advices for the future. Sensors become quite important, and massive storage systems. AI generally is undertaken in conjunction with machine learning, data analytics, and deep learning. And deep learning is the link, it's a junction between AI, so that's machine learning, and the human learning. We see now that schools, they are not happy by just saying, yes, we have the AI, we don't understand it, we accept it or don't accept it. It is a topic really for the curriculum. So we see in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, that integration of the thematic elements in the curriculum. We see that AI is becoming a topic to understand, so that we have enough intuition to understand the main mechanisms in machine learning. Also, of course, it's a help for our own cognitive awareness, because as we know through AlphaGo, that's the computer program that makes the Go game more transparent, because the IBM computer system, just like before the Deep Blue for chess, AlphaGo program achieved to understand the myth of the game. So the most complex phase of the Go game is combinatoric. It's a huge combinatoric space. The computer systems were working for several years, and by trillions of iterations, they found some typical combinations. And I think we will see it also for the application field of education, that learning analytics will be become more favored to learn our students' learning and to make our teachers even more keen to help the teachers by dashboards to see the background of the knowledge and the misconceptions in the students. So that is, I think, what we can expect. I would like to jump a little bit forward. We have, of course, we have a progressive evolution. Society first was, let's say, a nomadic society on the left side, the yellow box. It means it was hunting, it was, let's say, exploiting the soil. And then we had the next step is the green box is society 2.0. It's the agrarian society where sedentary societies became. And it was not only to harvest from nature, but to help nature to repair in all types of ways. And I think agriculture is a very important now. It's on the edge because if it comes to agriculture, we know that it's a high load for the ecology. Same as industrial evolution. In Industry 3.0 was more or less just inserting machines like the steam engine and later the automatized factories like possible with the information society. And then we have society 5.0, which is an integration of the social, the technology, and the, let's say, the way we see working. Working is a very, let's say, mysterious area conceptually, because it is not only selling our time, it's also what's our added value by our thinking, imagination, our responsibility for not only for the employer, but for the whole community. I go now to the next element, and that is the combination of what we see as the evolution of society. That is, we are now on the transition from society 4.0 up to 5.0. And that means society becomes what we call smart. It's not only, let's say, in terms of controlling citizens, it is mainly by making better solutions. So one of the projects we do to get in Turkey, secondary schools where students have to cope with the problem where to plant the lamppost in a city. And this is not only a mathematical or a physics problem, it's also, of course, the problem, what do we mean with visibility? Visibility in the evening, what do we mean with the feeling of safety, etc. So that is the transition from physics to the social domain. So that is the vertical axis. The horizontal axis makes the progress to what we call industry, like we already described, where machine learning is happening. And we see now that iterative approaches are not satisfying. So we look forward to the quantum computing, where there is a much more parallel approach to find optimal solutions. And I think when we think now about the world peace problem, there's a lot of speculation. Who are stakeholders? What's the image citizens are coping with? What is the news? How do social media play a role in that? What should we do in the schools to make students more resilient against the fake news, etc.? That is the crucial factor we are in now at this moment. This is my summary. We have the technology purely. I already told I started building computers in the 70s for myself, just as a hobby, more or less. But very soon it became an urgent topic for learning and for teaching. And then we have on the lower level, we have on the right side, you see the culture of the learning. That means it's the set of appointments. It's the cultural contract, you could say, that if you are in a school system, you don't eat at the same time when the teacher is trying to reach you. you don't sleep, you sit straight, and you show interest. That's the culture part. What we don't know about is the nature that's on the left side. The nature of the learning is much more about the physics of your brain. Did you sleep well? What was your food? Did you do some exercises in the morning? Did you play some music? Did you do your breathe well? So it's a much more physical, bodily aspect of the learning. And we see now that the school cultures are very much on intellectual sides. What information, what interaction, but we see now more and more that nature, human, is more than the brains. So it's the full body well-being that needs to be taken care of. Okay, I'll skip few of the topics because that's more for self-study, I will say. I jump to the next. So we see in the middle, we see the technology to cope with environment. I've chosen the green color, as you know. And we have, of course, the huge span between individual and governmental. There is a big process going on. What is democracy? What is the type of political and societal awareness that we need from our neighbors, from our citizens? And we see more and more that countries who claim to favor the democratic government style, if the citizens are not fully aware and try to understand what is the decision space, it may be problematic for societies to survive. So this is, I think, a huge span for also for artificial intelligence. Okay, let's go. I would say learning has become an existential drive. So far, education still underestimated the flip side of constructivistic learning. Let me try to explain. In the 80s and the 90s of the previous century, we were very excited about allowing students to build their own knowledge. If you think about Seymour Papert, who designed the logo system, the idea of Papert was that how do you learn to program? It is by constructing. So you take some elementary procedures or functions and you build a program. By looking to the behavior of the program, you start to understand what's the semantic span of such procedure or variable. And that's a kind of constructivistic approach. Now the question is, of course, in this time of abundant social media, abundant news channels, we have also abundant risk of fake news or misconceptions that may enter in the minds of the students. So how to control that? One of the ideas I offered quite recently, was that maybe we were too optimistic to say students should build their own knowledge. That's the paradigm of active learning, constructivistic learning. That's an optimistic approach because it supposes that finally the knowledge of students will converge so that they can still understand themselves. And that might be in danger. So it's the connotation that I was not aware, but recently I took this position. This is about my book again, and so the STEAM and the web-based learning communities, what are didactic measures that allow teachers to make students resilient for fake news? What scenarios for thematic rather than monodisciplinary courses need to be developed? Well, I think already in the question you can read, there is no simple solution. The real solution, direction for solution, is that we should encourage teachers to integrate more and more knowledge domains, even if it's beyond the subject area they are teaching about. So, for instance, if we if we think about the corona pandemic, teachers, of course, are much willing to explain what are the dimensions to make the trade-off to prevent from big disasters. Now, in explaining that, teachers, of course, have also, just like medical experts, just like engineers, they have limited knowledge, and that's understandable because it's all rather new. From the laboratories come the new ideas. What is the virus about? How does it propagate? So it means that teachers in this era, they need to be active and try to synthesize the newest understanding from science, from the news, from centers of expertise, so that they can communicate with their students in order to make it understandable, digestible, and allow sensible discussion about it. Second point is that the attempts to implement and disseminate STEAM, how to do that? Do we still need teachers who are expert in one domain, like science, biology, or physics? Or is it necessary that teachers become aware of, let's say, the social economical dimensions about medical, or let's say chemistry or nanotechnology? And I think it's the case. We see now that we cannot wait until the level of universities when students make their final decisions to postpone that kind of knowledge. It should be part of even primary school and for sure secondary schools, so that it's a wake-up call, I think, for teachers like myself to make this kind of more sensible connections. And then third question is, what social media mechanisms have led to web-based communities? I think we are all quite enthusiastic about communities because it is a very dynamic way, and especially when we cannot meet physically, face to face, then of course the opportunity to meet co-teachers, co-experts from a distance, to find them, to connect to them, to make a discourse, to have the, let's say, the synergy of the knowledge. That is the important task we would also like to offer to teachers. Virtual reality is a big issue. It was already there in a prototype in the 80s, late 80s, and up till now it's waiting. Even the game industry is not using it excessively. Now Facebook, they are going to make some prototypes, try to market it also for gaming or for virtual presence, but it is still in its infancy. What I predict is that finally the first order benefits from virtual reality, 3D worlds, is to develop spatial imagination. We did some research for medical students before they make endoscopic interventions to go with the camera inside the patient. Inevitably, they need to do exercises haptic so that they can really feel via devices, train themselves what is the haptic feedback before I can continue to go in the patient or go back or make a different corner. You see here operation room, and it's fully clear that in such kind of complex situation we need several disciplines. First of all, the doctor is in the middle here. You can see, I don't know if you see my cursor, it's the person here with the goggles. He's in the patient to do the intervention, and we have two helping nurses, nurse practitioners. They keep the patient in balance, etc. And we have, of course, the anesthesia, the person who is monitoring the heartbeat and the respiration. This kind of situation, we are fully aware it's necessary. What we are not fully aware is this situation, the lecture hall, where we mainly have one teacher, one lecturer, one professor, and he or she is giving the lecture, doing the process of conveying the students to the new understanding. And what I would like to say is that as we accept that physical interventions need multidisciplinarity, we can also say that mental interventions, like not only instruction, but leading students to a better understanding, to a more complete understanding, first of all, and to transform the knowledge into a more active knowledge, and to apply the knowledge for future challenges like we have in society so much. I would like to give an example. One of my famous PhD students is Martin Potjes. He's from East London, from Walter Sisulu University. And Dr. Potjes, he intended more than 10 years ago to make a PhD thesis. And he's in electronics. He's a teacher at high level electronic for students who want to become experts. And one of the ideas that was developed by Dr. Potjes and by me was to say, okay, we can make the course content more sophisticated. We can do also the virtual reality. So we have a real device. It can be controlled via telematics by the students from their homes, from their remote schools. And the device will show, will make the switches and will show the voltages and how the signal is changed, whatever. But at that very moment, we became aware that this virtual reality is not the most important thing. We found out quickly that the decisive motivation for students is what can I offer to myself and the society in the social economical sense. So I advised Dr. Potjes to make some space in the curriculum, spend 2 weeks before the actual course started, and ask the students, find out for each of you, what would be a device that you can make yourself, what you can design and implement, and that would make a difference. First of all, that production costs are so the public should sorry. And what happened? After 2 weeks, the students came back with a lot of ideas. And one of the ideas was so popular, students were really excited about it. They said, we want to make a scoreboard for the soccer, for the football games. So the scoreboard says it's 0 to 1. And then, of course, all the successive outcomes would be visible on the field. Normally, such scoreboard will cost $3,000 or $4,000 US dollars. And by making it by themselves, they could make it for about $80 or less. And so the students were so excited. And this was the trigger for them to start learning about how to make displays, how to do the control, the counters, the frequency dividers, the storage, the user interface, etc. So this is an example that what we call problem-based learning is very intricate, it's very important for the new reality of teaching and learning. And how to implement it in this classroom, in this lecture hall, it is mainly by saying, okay, before I start explaining, I give you the opportunity to think what's important in life for you, what can you offer, who do you want to become, and what is your next agenda for learning. I see I have only 1 minute left. let me see very quickly if one of my summaries can happen. It's a bit too long show, I admit, but it's the question: how will AI, artificial intelligence, impact learning? This is the agenda. I hope it's inspiring you, and I give back the word to the chair of this meeting. Thank you very much. If there are questions, please feel very welcome.
Thank you so much, Prof, for this very interesting talk. I think we certainly find ourselves right smack in the middle of this society 5.0 and you know, the industrial revolution, all these new things, and it becomes, I think, in this era more and more important to address these 21st century skills that you've mentioned. Prof, your words have definitely challenged us to reflect on our own practices, and I believe that there might be quite a number of questions from the members of our audience. However, because we started a little late, I think I'm going to ask either for the guys to ask their questions on the chat room, and then maybe, Prof, you can respond to them there. Or alternatively, if, Prof, you're available to meet with us around about 12:15, I think, is when we break for lunch in Kommers space. And then if there are any questions, people can come and speak to you there in particular. Would that be okay, Prof?
Absolutely. What I can do, I can make a more compact representation of my PowerPoint so that it can easily be sent to the audience. Is that okay?
I think that would be lovely. I think there's a lot of gems in here that I would certainly want to go back to and reflect upon. So thank you so much again for your time and for your preparation. We appreciate hearing from the guru himself. And we're going to take a break now. Maria has already moved on to the next session. So if you could, for now, participants choose which of the two parallel sessions you would like to go to, and then click on the appropriate session that you want to join, because we have each of the sessions as a separate link going forward. And then we'll be making Prof. Kommers' presentation, but also the video clip of the recording today. We'll make that available to everyone. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much, colleagues. We'll see you in one of the breakout rooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice conference.